Welcome back to another episode of A Taste of the Culture Spotlight. I'm Sean McLeod, and I'm giving you a taste of the culture. Today, you're getting two for one. You see I'm smoking a cigar here. We also have Uncle Nearest whiskey here. And you knew, if you followed me or any of my channels, that this was coming, right? And Uncle Nearest could, not even arguable, they could be credited with the emergence of black-owned wine and spirits brands, specifically spirits. They definitely just, Fawn and the team deserve a lot of credit for the ascension, or at least the inspiration behind a lot of black-owned brands, right? Because yes, there have been brands before them, and there will continue to be black-owned brands after that, but the success that Uncle Nearest has had, and obviously the polarizing story behind the brand are all a part of that, and it helped really shine that light nationally on African Americans and our role in the industry. And again, industry that I was a part of for the better part of now 8 years. So it's definitely something that I wanted to take my time and talk about this brand. I don't want to be here, we're not going to be here for an hour, that's for another time. But I thought it would be kind of cool to do a two for one, right? And we talk about the brand Uncle Nearest, and we talk about a cigar brand who made a cigar blend in commemoration of that. So I thought that was pretty cool. I'm an avid cigar smoker, so hey, why not bring two loves together and have this conversation? But as you can see, we have Uncle Nearest 1856 here. This is the flagship of the brand. It was the first whiskey that was released in 2017. You guys probably heard the story, right? Nearest Green. He is, for all intents and purposes, credited with teaching Jack Daniels how to make whiskey, which is no small feat because Jack Daniels is one of the biggest spirits brands in the world. I've enjoyed Jack Daniels in all corners of the world, whether it be the Middle East or Greece or America. I've had it everywhere. And obviously it was a bombshell when Fawn Weaver, who was a journalist, uncovered that story, and Nearest Green's role in Jack Daniels' life. And Nearest Green pretty much coining and I guess you could say, like, standardizing the Lincoln County process, right? Where Tennessee whiskeys are known for that. They're known for that distinction of the charcoal filtration or steeping or whatever the brand does. And obviously Jack Daniels is the biggest Tennessee whiskey brand there is. And for him to have such an influence on the brand, it was an abomination that no one knew this, right? Until it was uncovered and all those things happened. I'm not here to talk about that, right? I think, and that's what Fawn has done a good job of, and the whole team at Uncle Nearest, is to make sure you highlight the brand as it is, right? And the history is the history. You can't hide from that. You can't run away from that, and you shouldn't run away from that. But it's a time to highlight the brand itself, and I've loved seeing that. Even before I created the Taste of the Culture, it was a brand I kept my eye on. It was a brand that I even thought about, hey, maybe I would want to work with those guys, and who knows, that may happen in the future. But I think for me, I've always admired it from afar. For one, for Fawn to, take that leap, to take it from a project, a passion project, and to realize, I think I watched an interview she had, and she said she could have made a documentary or something, and that could have been it. But, to work with his family, and, the distillery's open this year. It's 2021. The Nearest Green Distillery is open. So I think, talk about having a dream and making it a reality. I think that's amazing. And I think that's a form of inspiration, that it doesn't matter what color you are, right? And what I do, and this platform is all about uplifting black-owned wine and spirits. But I think that's an entrepreneur story that is, second to none. Obviously, the resources are what they are, and she was able to make it happen, which I think is amazing, and it was definitely inspiring to me, and it's why it deserves many conversations, right? And I'm happy to see that they're expanding to different expressions, right? You have 1856, you have 1884, you have 1820, which is it's like a supreme release. It's so hard to get. I haven't gotten my hands on it yet, but I do plan to make it down to the distillery at some point in Shelbyville, maybe before the year is over, we'll see, and get down there and get the experience. I've done the Bourbon Trail. Spirits, I love spirits for that fact, right? Because spirits kind of are history. They give you an opportunity to learn about the people, the land, where these spirits were made. That's why people like to go to Champagne. That's why people go to Cognac. That's why people go to Kentucky, to Louisville, and try bourbon. And Uncle Nearest and the distillery and everything they've done, that team has done, is creating a similar experience there. Now Jack Daniel's obviously has that. They've had their distillery in Lynchburg, but this is a whole nother layer to that story, right? And there's so many distilleries. There's multiple distilleries in Tennessee. Dickel's there. There's other brands that are there, but they're kind of creating their own hotspot, much like Louisville has been for bourbon. So I'm looking forward to that. Let's get to what we have in front of us here. Again, this is the 1856. It's the flagship of the brand. It's a Tennessee whiskey if you've ever had it, and we'll taste it. Actually, we'll nose it first. So on the nose, I'm definitely getting. Obviously, you get that spice initially, right? But I'm also getting some caramel notes. I'm getting like stone fruits, you call them, right? And other fruits like peaches, things like that, apricot on the nose. Now we'll taste. And obviously, it kicks in the beginning, right? I definitely feel like there's some rye in here, and I think that if I'm not mistaken, I wasn't able to find what the actual mash bill was, right? But Tennessee whiskey are composed similar to bourbons. Some of them, obviously, everybody's mash bill is different. So this is majority corn, right? It's more than 51% corn. You do get that. You do get that sweetness. I'm actually getting a lot of vanilla on the finish, but you get that caramel, and you get that bite. And obviously the charcoal filtration makes the flavor so unique and different than other whiskeys out there. That's hence why Tennessee whiskey is so distinct. But I think they do a great job of making this, though it's a little harder, it's still approachable, right? And this is something that will stand up in cocktails. I've had this in many cocktails, and Jack Daniel's is famous for Lynchburg lemonades, things like that, where you make something that's traditionally a little sweeter, and your whiskey has that bite where it's able to kind of push through and give you a nice balanced flavor. So I do love that about it. But you can also enjoy this neat. I'm not making a cocktail in this episode because we're going to talk about the cigar I have here. But I definitely wanted to kind of run through that with you, how this tastes, how this smells. Every whiskey has its purpose. I enjoy all types, as you've seen on this channel. So I don't think, I wouldn't say this is better than others, but I think as far as the Tennessee whiskey goes, if you saw it in the dictionary, this will be there as well, right along Jack Daniel's for obvious reasons. And I'm excited to go down and see the distillery. They have a black master blender, which in this business, there are hardly any, right? Obviously, with the black-owned brands and the emergence of more brands, that's happening more and more. But for a brand of this size, that's quite a feat. For leadership and for African Americans to be a part of that process in every part of the company is amazing, and it can't be overstated. So it didn't have to be said, but I'm saying it now. Uncle Nearest gets the. I don't even know if I could give it a stamp of approval, but it's a brand I've supported for a long time, and I'll continue to support. And I've had the 1884. It's amazing. I can't wait to try the 1820. And what I love about it is they all serve a purpose, right? And many whiskey brands do this, where you have your flagship, and that has a certain taste and it's for a certain palate, and then you bring people in with other expressions, right? So 1884 tends to be that introductory whiskey where it's a little bit softer, so it's people who aren't big whiskey drinkers or just joining the category can enjoy that without issue. And then you have 1820, which is on its own on an island. And again, I can't talk too much about it because I haven't tried it, but everything I've heard has been positive. Obviously, when things are in short supply, that also creates an aura, and people have opinions that way. But people that I know and trust in the business and in the space have only said great things about it. So I anticipate that to be the case for sure. Now let's talk about a cigar. Again, this is the Legacy Blend by Allure Cigars, a brand I've been a fan of for more than a couple years now. They're based out in Minnesota, a black-owned cigar brand. Again, keeping it black-owned is not just about wine and spirits for me. I try to support and purchase black-owned brands in every industry. And as a cigar smoker and being somewhat in the cigar business, I'll get to that. It was important for me to support this brand when I discovered it. And there are many black-owned brands. If you've been following me, you know there are many black-owned cigar brands out there, and I've supported many of them, and I will continue to support them because I think it's important. But I also love what Allure Cigars did. This is an amazing cigar, first of all. Medium full cigars are my favorite, and this is kind of the definition of what I like in a cigar, right? Where it's not so harsh, it's not gonna, push you back, it's not gonna put you to sleep, which sometimes I do enjoy that, right? But it's an easy smoker, right? Where it has some body to it. It's gonna pair, right? Obviously, it's made in commemoration of Nearest Green, so it's gonna pair well with this, but it's gonna pair with a cognac. It's gonna pair with a aged tequila, which is how I like to enjoy cigars oftentimes as well. Um, so yeah, I mean, I'm a huge fan of the Legacy blend. Um, I think one of the things that's great about the idea of this, right, is, this isn't something that Uncle Nearest and Allure made a partnership with, and they're marketing it and trying to sell things. It's literally was made in commemoration, much like my brand is, where I created a brand that is meant to uplift and gain audience for Black-owned wine and spirits. And this Legacy blend was made in a similar vein, where it's like, hey, I want to. That's an amazing story. Nearest Green's a person that we need to continue to highlight and talk about. I want to make a cigar that is going to commemorate him and his legacy, which I think is amazing. So, Allure Cigars, the Legacy blend, Uncle Nearest 1856. This has been a Taste of the Culture Spotlight. Thank you guys for joining me. Remember to keep it Black owned.